Hello and welcome to another edition of the Sporting Kansas City Show on your home for SKC Soccer, Sports Radio 810 WHB, wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you stream your video content. And if you are streaming your video content, you can see the 3 cans of wonderful Michelob Ultra right in front of me. They're our presenting sponsor, one for each of us. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Joining me on the show, as always, to my left is Allie Trost. Allie, how are you?
I'm well, Nate. Would be better if we were coming off 3 points, but back at home this weekend, so that's a reason to get excited.
And on my right, off the bench once again, Connell McCourt into the starting 11, in for Jacob Peterson. Connell, how are you?
I'm good. I'm not exactly making a pick to kick yet. You know, I'm not,
You're not
at that level yet,
right.
you know, but I'm coming off the bench. I'm showing what I can do with the last 15 minutes to go, you know.
I would allow you to make a pick to kick for me at this point, because even when I pick Johnny Russell and I think he's scored a goal, it goes down as an own goal, and I am still on a goose egg for the season. So
for those who don't know, by the way, and hopefully you know by now because we've been doing it the last 2 seasons on the broadcast, each of the crew members pick a player to kick a ball in the back of the net, score a goal. Nate has not picked correctly, although I would have given it to you this week. I was kind of like about to send out a text in our broadcast group chat like, hey, like Johnny pretty much brought that one up to almost the finish line.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
Rules are rules.
Rules are
rules.
rules.
Brad Bertel, producer extraordinaire,
hey,
makes the rules.
Look, I'm not looking for a hand. I'm the defending champ in picks to kick.
Yes.
Connell, so I'm not looking for any handouts. And much like Sporting Kansas City, I'm mindful of the fact that it's a long season right now. So slow start's not going to get me down. I'm going to be right back in this thing here very soon. And yeah, Sporting Kansas City, they suffer a loss in Los Angeles. Coming up on the show, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some of the conversations we've had out here at Compass Minerals today. This is a Tuesday when we're doing this show. We spoke to Peter Vermees and Daniel Shallowy and Logan and Dembe, so we'll kind of recap some of the things that we learned from those guys today. We'll preview the upcoming homestand, 2 matches in a row at home. We'll focus on the one this weekend against Columbus because it's got to start there with 3 points against a Columbus team that's struggling a little bit as well. And we're going to be joined by Nikola Vujnovic, center forward for Sporting Kansas City, and a man whose English, I think, blew us all away when we heard him at the introductory press conference, and he said he learned it by watching movies and the NBA, which means, in my mind, he learned English from Kevin Harlan, the greatest play-by-play man in American history, in my mind, and Kansas City native resident as well. So I want to find out who he likes in the NBA, you know, and we may talk some NBA playoffs with him, and what movies did he learn English with, and then we'll talk some soccer, of course, as well. So that's all coming up on the show, guys. But let's start with it. Sporting Kansas City go to LAFC, Bank of California Stadium. LAFC 3, Sporting Kansas City 1. Sporting got a 1-0 lead for the second straight week. It doesn't stand up. Allie, your thoughts on the performance in Los Angeles this past weekend?
Yeah, there was a lot that the team did well, and I think, you know, a lot of good stuff that they can build on as well. Taking it to LAFC on the road at one of the hardest stadiums to play at in MLS, jumping out to that early lead, and even when LA pulled that first goal back, you know, there was still that sense that the game could go either way. But against a quality side like LA, as Daniel Shallowy said today, as Peter Vermees and Johnny Russell said after the press conference, when you go against a talented team like that, you have to bring it for a full 90 minutes because they just have too much depth, too much quality. And look, that was a really tough game, I think, for them to go into coming off of that loss in Nashville, loss against Nashville at home. That was a difficult game no matter when you play it in the season, just given where it fell in Sporting's schedule with the form that they've been in, I think just made it even more difficult. But again, some positives to take away. Now you're back-to-back at home. How can the team really turn things around? And as Daniel Shallowy pointed out to us today, kind of get back to something that they were able to do last season, and that was not having any back-to-back losses. They were really able to turn things around from week to week when they did suffer a loss, and I know they're trying to get back to that right now.
I mean, like, start of the season, if you look at all the fixtures, you're probably LAFC away is probably one of the ones that you're looking, you know what, we'll probably not get a result there. If you get a draw, great. If you get a victory, brilliant. But you're probably not expected to get, because they're probably the best team in the league, LAFC.
They're first in the West right now.
They set the benchmark. So I think what you said, they lost to Nashville at home, who there's no shame in losing to them either. They're a decent side as well. it kind of made the LAFC game, it became a bit more of a must-win than it was, and that kind of, the loss there, you'll take it. It happened, as you said, 60, 70 minutes Sporting done all right. They put it up to them. They created chances. It could have went either way, and then just kind of the story of our season, Murphy's Law, whatever can go wrong, kind of does go wrong, and like when are they going to score a goal like that second one again? You know what I mean? He just hits it. Tim, you can't really blame Tim. He's trying to cheat a bit and gets caught off his line, but that's just kind of been the story of our season. It's anytime you need a bit of luck or the rub of the green, it seems to go to the opposition and not for us, where it kind of has went for us in recent years. It's just we're on the other side of it now. It's a bit easy to just blame luck and stuff like that because, look, you're up against LAFC. You do have to bring it for 90 minutes. They are a quality side, and sadly we just didn't have enough, kind of ran out of steam, and then the third goal was just a sucker punch.
Okay, I have a few things to cover then from what you guys just said. Number one is, does anybody remember where LAFC finished in the table last season?
It was just inside the playoffs.
Outside. They were, 7th or 8th?
Oh, because they lost Vela for like majority.
Well, what's interesting is, and I need to check on the standings right now, but
they have the laptops in front of them, by the way. I just want the cameras to show they have the laptops in front of them. I do not.
Okay, well, go ahead then. Where did they finish?
I believe they finished 9th in the West last year.
Okay.
And outside of the playoffs. Carlos Vela, I believe, started 15 games last year out of 20 appearances.
They finished, yes, correct, 9th. And what's interesting, too, is if you look
He started 15 out of 20?
I think he made 20 appearances, 15 starts. I think is right, which is less than half the game. So,
Okay.
yeah, he was out. The reason I bring that up, there is a lot of conversation right now about the struggles of Sporting Kansas City and what it all means, right? And we'll get to the concept of Sporting Kansas City getting it right and fixing their problems, which they obviously have right now, and a long season to try to do it. But I think that it's interesting because you made the point, going to LAFC, you're not expecting to necessarily win that game. They're the cream of the crop in the Western Conference, or one of the teams in the Western Conference that you think of as the cream of the crop. They set the points record in 2019, right before the pandemic. They had an incredible season. The last 2 years, they haven't had the services of Carlos Vela on full display, and the record has shown it, right? And the reason I bring that up is I think I've seen a lot of talk about, well, the league is changing. Maybe the way Sporting Kansas City goes about their business doesn't get it done in today's MLS like it used to. This is a Sporting Kansas City side that was a blown handball call away last year from finishing first in the Western Conference, with LAFC, one of those new big, flashy spending teams, finishing 9th in the Western Conference. In my opinion, and this is the way I see this right now, you have an Alan Pulido and he gets hurt for the year, it is devastating to you in Major League Soccer because you don't have the financial resources under the league rules to go replace him. Carlos Vela goes down, the guy that scored 34 goals in the season in which you finished in first place, and all of a sudden you go from a team that sets the points record to a team that can't even get into the playoffs in a 17-playoff field, right? And so, look, now I hesitate to lean too heavily into that because Alan Pulido's not coming back this year. I believe Sporting Kansas City can fix some of their problems and become a playoff team this year. So I'm not trying to write that off in any way, shape, or form. But I do think that perspective matters. I think that sometimes, look, the one team you can point to and say, well, they never seem to have a down year no matter who gets hurt is Seattle. And fair play.
More power to them.
You know, more power to them, fair play to them, and maybe that's what we should say we're aspiring to be, right? Like they're in a cup final every year, no matter what.
Well, and now the CCL, which is, like, to me, what is
that's
been really impressive about Seattle is not just their ambition to go and win MLS Cup, which they've done consistently over, the last however many years with Lagerwey and Schmetzer at the helm. now they're raising that bar to not just compete in CCL, but hopefully win and then advance to the FIFA Club World Cup, which, I mean, what that does for Major League Soccer. So, yeah, like...
And that's what I mean by Cup final. I think and I don't have my laptop, so this could be wrong, but I think it's 6 out of the last 7 years they've been in a Cup final.
I was
going to
say 3 out of 4,
yeah.
but that may be...
I read that kind of stat somewhere, and I want to say it's 6 out of 7, something like that, whether it's MLS Cup final, U.S. Open Cup final, or CCL final. So, yeah, but I would say who's been more consistently in the playoffs and having winning seasons outside of Seattle than Sporting Kansas City.
Right.
So I just think, and again, I'm not trying to sit there and argue that there's no problems right now. We asked Daniel Shalhoub a question about that today, and he flat out said, we have problems. Mm-hmm. We have to fix them. We know that. So I'm not trying to diminish that. But I do think the perspective of you got a bunch of guys that are important to the team get hurt, and you suffer some results, and teams, even the big spending teams, have down years, right? They have years where, because of the structure of the league, they have problems. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the whole system's a mess or that it's going in the wrong direction long term. That's just one of the points I wanted to bring up. The next one, Connell, is you mentioned, again, going to LAFC, you don't expect to win. The thing that stands out to me so much about this team right now is because this team, without Alan Pulido, went to places like Seattle and LA and won games just last year, right?
Yeah.
They went to Seattle twice, if I remember correctly.
They did. They won in July, and then they won again in October.
Right.
In that very pivotal matchup going into the playoff stretch. So
they won a game at LAFC, and LAFC, of course, wasn't what we thought of them. Last year, again, they were 9th place, but they went to a lot of places last year and won games. And I noticed there are some differences, right? And some of that goes, okay, so you mentioned Tajuri Shradi scores this goal in the second half of the game. Peter Vermees referred to it as a backbreaker after the game. The thing that stood out to me the most in this LAFC game was after LAFC scored to take the lead, I feel like a lot of times in soccer, the team that's losing, then you'll see the possession numbers switch into their favor. Mm-hmm. And the other team will kind of take their foot off the gas and sit back. Let's just not make any mistakes. Let's see this thing out. The possession numbers actually switched massively from in favor of Sporting Kansas City to in favor of LAFC after they took the lead. And for me, it just kind of looked to me like we got to change our mentality. We got to bring it in this game. We got to fight for everything. And it was there. And they did all those things, and then they still found themselves down 2-1. And it was almost like the team just went, oh, my gosh.
Just took the wind out of their sails.
It was a backbreaker, as Peter Vermees said. And so one of the things, Ali, that I asked Daniel Shalhoub was you guys came back from behind all the time last year to get results. How do you get back to that? And I wonder, and his answer was, well, we didn't lose back-to-back games last year. It was like that team never lacked confidence at any point last year. This team needs a shot of confidence in a big way, in my opinion.
Well, and I've talked to members of the technical staff about this, too, even before the most recent losses for Sporting Kansas City, and it rings true in just about every sport. I mean, things can become a habit. Bouncing back from losses last season was a habit for Sporting Kansas City. Scoring multiple goals in games was a habit. Peter Vermees was recently quoted in a great article in the Star by Sam McDowell, who was the former beat writer for the team. And Vermees even acknowledged, hey, this is the time right now when the team's struggling that I earned my stripes. He was like, when the team's flying in past years, past seasons, he's like, I could probably afford to take a few days off just because his influence isn't needed as much because of what individually and collectively the team has built and achieved throughout that success. Same thing happens, though, when you're losing and when you're conceding and when those moments happen. You do have that feeling of, here we go again, because you've been there before and you've seen how that story's played out. For Sporting Kansas City, they need to flip the narrative, and that starts with 2 back-to-back games at home. And I know maybe this is a bit tired for people to hear, but it is a long season. I mean, just even looking at right now, the playoff standings for the Western Conference, only 2 teams above the playoff line made the playoffs last year. 2 teams.
Right.
I mean, you're seeing teams who are at the bottom of the table. All the Texas teams are now at, through these first, 8 games or so, 7 games
7
or so,
or 8, yep.
have found some of that success. And the other thing I was looking at earlier was, okay, who was scoring for Sporting Kansas City at the beginning of the season last year? And Daniel Shalhoub, through 8 games, had 3 goals. The other goal scorers, though, Gadi Kinda, 3 goals. Gianluca Busio, 2 goals. Alan Polito, 5. Elie, 1. Jalen Lindsay, 1. None of those players have all either gone, out with injury. Johnny Russell didn't score till the 4th of July, another thing that Daniel Shalhoub brought up today. And look, they've got to get some of these new guys in the mix and producing. There's been, of course, that acclimation period that Peter Vermes has talked about at length. And for players who missed preseason, Marinos Giannis wasn't at preseason, Nikola Vujnovic wasn't at preseason. That's extra time that needs to be made up. I mean, Vujnovic was making his MLS debut on the road against Colorado. There's things that I think have set this team back, key injuries up top. Again, not excuses, just realities that Sporting Kansas City have had to face early on in this season. But it's a long stretch. We've got the Open Cup draw on Friday. Shalhoub said today that he feels that competition, which is one that Sporting's done very well in the past, is taken incredibly seriously as a club, could be a really good thing to kind of mix things up for them and maybe go out and win a trophy.
I mean, and it's too easy to be, right, Polito, your marksman, your top goal scorer, your assassin at the top, gone. Your most creative midfield player, arguably, and Gadi Kinda, gone. What you just say, how many goals did Gadi have? 3?
Between
Polito
Gadi and Polito,
5.
they had 8 goals through 8 games. So that's averaging a goal a game just for those 2 guys.
So that's maybe the Chicago game turns into a 1-1 draw. Who else do we lose by 1 goal against? Or even the Houston game at home, maybe you don't just win 1-0. And that breeds confidence going forward. The only way you can be resilient and learn to be resilient is when you go behind and fight back. Mm-hmm. If you have those players in the team, this is a different game. Maybe you lump that ball up and it falls to Gadi Kinda or it falls to Alan Polito. They would take that shot on that Shorady scored against us. The way we're playing at the minute, just the confidence doesn't seem to be there. I can't see anybody else taking that shot on.
Well, and the other thing, too, is consistency and not just personnel, but even tactically. I mean, we've seen Peter Vermes switch the formation up a number of times early on in the season out of necessity because the players that have been in and out of the lineup. Shalhoub mentioned today that switching to that double pivot with Remy Voltaire and Roger Espinoza with Marinos Giannis playing as that lone attacking midfielder. He said he kind of liked the way that formation played out for him and said that they even felt maybe they could get Giannis the ball a bit more because he was turning on guys and doing really good stuff, but maybe didn't get the ball as often. So those things are just those little building blocks that you have to build by experiencing actual game minutes with different guys that you haven't in the past really played a lot with before. So those are things that I think, again, positives to build on. That's a big one. How much Sporting were on the ball, another big one. Just trying to get back to those I guess, things that Sporting Kansas City fans are used to seeing with this team. But a big thing that needs to improve if we're looking to point at what is wrong, because we've talked about players, Vermes saying that there are problems that need to be fixed. A big one that was reiterated a number of times today by manager Peter Vermes was the defensive mentality. And I asked him, because Johnny Russell had said after the game on Sunday that starts with the guys up top, and I asked Vermes, how he would assess that comment essentially, and he said, well, looking at the recent goals and the back-to-back losses, it wasn't really to do much with the guys up top. So he's looking at the defense when he makes that comment.
Guys up top need to take their responsibility as well, though. I mean, we've conceded 14 goals. We've scored 6 in 8 games. I mean, that's I don't care who you are or what you're playing. That's you're about that place in the league if you're only scoring 6 goals. I mean, we need more production up top, and some people are just going to need to step up and kind of, because the confidence radiates through the team. If the defenders know the strikers are scoring, the midfielders are getting on the ball, the defenders are kind of more, it all moves as one unit. Everybody's brimming with confidence, or else everyone has no confidence. And it just seems like we need to just start getting things going.
Yeah, I think my read when Peter says those things is when you are suffering from setbacks. You've lost some players. Maybe you don't have the chemistry in the midfield that you talked about. Some things that are beyond your control. One thing you can control is the mentality of we're not conceding a goal here. We're gonna do everything humanly possible to make sure that ball doesn't go in our net. And I think that it's kind of in every different sport you hear these analogies. In basketball, I always hear coaches say things like, "Hey, some days the ball's going in, some days it's not. You can have an off night shooting, but your defense should never go away, right? You can always bring that because that's about attitude and effort, even if you're not feeling it that day offensively. In baseball, they always say about a pitcher, the really good pitchers can still find a way to grind out a game when they don't have their best stuff. Their fastball might not be popping the way that it normally does, but they find a way to gut their way through it. And to me, that's what I hear from Peter right now is we got a lot of stuff going against us. We're missing all the players we just talked about. We're trying to tinker with some things in the midfield to find out what the best rotation is there and develop some chemistry there. So in the meantime, when we get a 1-0 lead, we got to close the door and see that thing out. Right. And is that reasonable? I mean, I don't think that Peter Vermees is real interested in reasonable. I think he's interested in we got to do something to get results until we get things going the way we want to get them going. And we'll see if they can pull that off. And we'll be talking about this game coming up against Columbus. Big opportunity on Saturday to do just that. We'll talk about that game coming up in a little bit. But we're going to take a break right now. And when we come back, we're going to talk with Nikola Vujnovic, forward for Sporting Kansas City. One of these guys that missed preseason got thrown right into the starting lineup as soon as he got here. We'll talk with him about all of that and more as we come back on the Sporting Kansas City show presented by Michelob Ultra.
As devoted Sporting KC fans, we know you travel well to support your club and its boys in blue. So, before you travel to the next away game, or anywhere for that matter, check out Kansas City International Airport's new terminal progress at buildkci.com.
And we're back on the Sporting Kansas City show on your home for SKC Soccer, Sports Radio 810, WHB, wherever you get your podcasts and wherever you stream your video content. We're presented by Michelob Ultra. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. We're joined now by forward for Sporting Kansas City, Nikola Voinovich. Nikola, how are you? Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm pretty good. Like, we had a nice session today, so I'm feeling fine.
A spirited practice. You guys have been putting in some tough practices lately. I know because everybody's trying to turn things around. What has the training session been like for you so far since joining Sporting KC?
So yeah, like you said, we have some things to turn around. The things are not going our way, so we have to change like the mentality. We have to approach like to every practice with like full power. We can't like be easy on ourselves. Even if we talk, we have to talk with each other to say what we have. Like, if I'm doing something wrong, I want to hear that from my teammate because I want to improve, and that's something that we have to work on.
How has all of that been for you? You're new to Major League Soccer. You're new to Kansas City, to the United States, to this team. How has that been? Just the adjustment for you, and then when you factor in as well, just the team trying to turn some things around.
Yeah, so I've been in soccer now for some quite time, so that's a normal thing for us. You have to adapt as quick as you can. So it's nothing new to me. I'm getting used to like my teammates still. It's been like a month and a half that I'm here, but I'm still getting used to them. Like, we need some time to figure out how can we cooperate better, and I think we are going in the right direction.
Who's a player on the team that you've maybe hit it off with pretty quickly, where that chemistry has kind of been there just immediately?
I don't know. I've been talking with Robert a lot because he can speak the same language, but I would say like Roger maybe. He's like a really nice guy, and we talk like a lot.
Roger's always the guy. It seems like he's always the guy that everybody gets along with as soon as they come to town. The language. What's the language? Is it German? Is it Montenegrin?
It's Serbian, actually.
Serbian, okay.
Yeah.
So does Z speak Serbian as well?
Yeah, Z speaks Serbian. Yeah. He's Serbian, yeah.
Okay, so you got some guys here that you can converse with in that regard. So that leads me to the next question. I've been excited to talk to you ever since I watched your first press conference with the team, because as I was watching it, I thought, man, this guy's English is really good for somebody. Had you ever been to the United States before?
No, never. This is the first time here.
And I thought you said that, and then somebody asked you on the call, why is your English so good? And I believe you said movies
movies.
And NBA basketball.
yeah, NBA basketball and NBA TV shows like
Okay.
in general, Undisputed. I don't know, like
Yeah.
First Take and those.
First
kind
Take
of
and all
things.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You get all those shows back in Montenegro or in Serbia.
I do because I'm NBA fan, so I'm
Okay.
following all those things.
How did you become an NBA fan? Do you remember?
I don't know. When I was a kid, I started like watching, and LeBron was the biggest star at the moment. So I was like the big fan of Cleveland, and then through the years, I kept watching the NBA. And
So
that's
that
it.
surprises me so much to hear you say LeBron, because the first thing I thought of was, well, of course, there are so many players from your region
Yeah.
who are playing in the NBA, going back to Vlade Divac and Sarunas Jasikevicic,
yeah,
right?
Nowitzki was there.
Nowitzki,
Old school.
yeah, all those guys. There have always been great players from Serbia and Croatia and those areas that have played in the NBA. But that's not why you were an NBA fan.
No, I just liked it in general, and then I picked my team. I said it's LeBron, it's Cleveland, and
Yeah.
that's basically it. yeah.
So do you follow? Are you a Lakers fan now because LeBron's with
Wherever
the Lakers?
LeBron goes, I'm
Oh,
with
okay.
him.
Okay.
Die hard.
Yeah.
Did you play basketball at all growing up?
No, never.
No, just a fan.
Just a fan. Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
it.
I think
I'm too short for basketball.
you and me both. I think it's interesting though that you say that you also watch shows like Undisputed and First Take.
Yeah.
Do you like the media thing? Would you ever see yourself getting into?
No, I don't see myself there. To be honest, it's just funny. Yeah, to see them like talking.
So Stephen A.
That's
Smith, right?
Stephen A. Smith and Shannon, I guess.
Yeah. So who do you got winning the NBA title this year? Even though LeBron's out, are you still going to watch the playoffs and everything?
Yeah, sure. I'm following like
Yeah.
every game. Like, so my guy Jokic is basically dead. He's 2-0
Boy, he's
down.
having it.
Yeah.
Are you surprised that he's gotten off to the rough start in the playoffs?
Yeah, but I don't know that he needs some help. I
Yeah,
think.
he
Like
needs
Jamal
help.
Murray is injured.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
Porter also. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think I'll go like with Memphis this time. Actually,
Really?
I'll go with the young guys.
Yeah?
That's it. Yeah,
You like John Morant?
I do.
Yeah, he's an incredible player. Okay, Memphis. You heard it here first, folks. Memphis. I'm kind of feeling the 76ers this year a little bit. My guy Joel Embiid, he went to my college. So you don't like him? Not your guy?
Oh.
No, not my guy.
Tell me
at
why.
all.
Tell me why you don't like him.
I don't know. I just don't like him. I don't know why.
He can rub you the wrong way. He's got a big personality. You
And
know.
I hate those fouls that they are calling on him. He's having a 20 free throws per game.
Yeah.
That's killing me.
Yeah, and by the way, your guy's not getting any foul calls.
Yeah,
Jokic
I know,
is
I
not
know.
getting any
Yeah.
foul calls at all.
All right,
Well,
Nick,
yeah.
you mentioned your relationship with Robbie and Roger, but you and Robbie, you said live in the same building and stuff.
Building,
So
yeah.
do you guys watch games together? Is he as big of an NBA fan as you are?
No, not actually. Like F1 is probably the first subject that we talk about. He's watching F1. Me too. Like that's actually the first sport after the soccer that I follow. That NBA is the second. So we talk a lot about F1, not NBA
yeah.
actually.
That's like
I'm
all
so
the
late
rage
to the
right
yeah
now.
I'm so late to the party on this because everybody I watch says it's incredible and that you've got to watch it. What makes it so good? Can you tell me why it's so fun to watch?
Like the speed, I guess.
Yeah.
Wants to go fast. So
Yeah.
I know all the races sometimes because my fiance is very into it as well. And I remember one night he was like, "Oh yeah, like the race starts at midnight." And I'm like midnight. So I know the
Yeah, 'cause
times
it's
are
all over the world, so
Right.
you never know.
So
yeah.
what's like the craziest time that you've been up to watch F1? Where you're like, I can't believe I'm awake right now watching this, but you haven't
It
watched.
can be like 7 in the morning.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll wake up at 7 just to watch an F1
Yeah.
race. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite racer, like a driver? Is that what you do? You root for
Yeah.
your
Yeah, like before it was Kimi Raikkonen. He's from Finland, but he
Okay.
retired last year,
Okay.
so I'm going with Max Verstappen.
Okay. Where's
Yeah.
he from?
He's from Netherlands.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So there's our guy. I'm gonna start watching. I'm gonna
I know
Yeah, you
I'm
have
so
to.
behind.
You-
Yeah,
yeah,
everybody
you have
says
to
it's
start.
incredible. All right, what about movies? Give me your. Do you have a favorite American movie or two or three that you watched all the time?
Maybe I don't know. There's a lot of movies. Gladiator, maybe with Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's one of my favorites.
You like the
to see.
action movies then?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, none of the comedies or anything like that.
No comedy, not at all. Like, romance, no.
No romance,
like,
no comedy. Get them out of here.
Thriller, drama.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
That's my part. Yeah.
You want the serious stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
we're visiting with Nikola Voinovich, and we'll get back to the soccer now, but I just thought it'd be fun to get to know you a little bit on that front. We've talked a little bit about it, but I still can't believe you basically flew here, and then you go to Colorado, and you're thrown into the starting lineup in a league you've never played in, altitude, all the other things. I'm sure at the time it's just kind of happening so fast you don't have a chance to really process it. But now that you've been here for a few weeks, has it sunk in how crazy that whole period of time was for you getting here and then getting right into the swing of things?
Yeah, we were like talking in the locker room about that. I was like, man, I wasn't expecting that at all. And then I don't know, Zusi was like, we weren't expecting that also. I was like, yeah, that was weird when I look at that now. Like from this point of view, it was pretty insane because I arrived at Wednesday, I think, and then I played it on Saturday. It didn't feel pretty in the game. I was dead, to be honest.
Yeah.
But now I'm happy that I played because it helped me a lot. Like physically, I'm in pretty good shape now.
How has Major League Soccer been as a league for you? We talked to Logan in Denbei today, and he noted just how strong and physical and fast of a league it is. How have you assessed Major League Soccer so far?
Yeah, I would say physical also, because you can't relax. Like every ball, every tackle, you have to go 100%, or like they'll eat you alive if you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And have there been any players around the league? I know you haven't played every team yet, but is there a player that you played against that you're like, I can't believe I'm going up against this guy? Or is there a player that you look forward to going up against?
No, not actually. You're not paying like attention to those type of things. Me, like, I don't like when you go out, you play, and you don't care who's on the other side. So
Logan kind of
that's
said the same thing.
Yeah.
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 It's about just trying to get things right for this team, right? Do you feel like you're starting to develop some of that chemistry with your teammates now?
Yeah, last 2 weeks it felt much better for me. Like I felt confident in practice sessions. Like even in the games I played only like 10-15 minutes last 2 games, but I felt that we improved in some ways when I came in. So I think we just need one good result, something to build on, and then we should be good.
Well, Nikola, we certainly appreciate the time. I hope you're enjoying your time in Kansas City so far, and hopefully we get a chance to talk to you again real soon. And good luck to Memphis in the NBA playoffs for you.
Hey, if they go out and win it, I'm pulling this clip, and I'm going to post that because it's a nice little prediction.
There you go. Thanks a lot, Nikola.
Yeah.
We appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Okay, that is Nikola Voinovich. We're going to take a break. We come back. Colin McCourt will rejoin us, and we'll talk Columbus Crew coming to town right after this on the Sporting Kansas City Show. And we're back to wrap things up on this edition of the Sporting Kansas City Show on your home for SKC Soccer, Sports Radio 810 WHB. We're rejoined by Connell McCourt. Our thanks to Nikola Voinovich for joining us on the show moments ago. Now it's time, guys, to look forward. A couple of things before we get to the Columbus Crew match on Saturday. Ali, you brought it up in the first segment, but let's revisit it. The U.S. Open Cup is back. And the draw is on Friday, and we're going to find out where Sporting Kansas City will be playing. I'm not a huge fan of the regional component to it because we end up seeing the same matchups that we always see. It's Houston, it's Minnesota, it's Colorado, somebody like that in the tournament. But I'm so excited to have this competition back. I mean, this competition, some of my favorite memories as a Sporting Kansas City fan / broadcaster have been in this tournament. Not just the Cup finals either. Those obviously have been great ones as well. But we missed it for the last 2 years. It's just awesome to have it back.
Well, and when I first moved to Kansas City, summer of 2017, I think the Open Cup was like just starting or had just started. So that was like really my first introduction into Sporting Kansas City soccer. I think like the third or fourth game I ever went to was when they lifted the cup. So, I mean, that to me was just such an exciting and memorable time that, you know, it was easy to get excited about this team and trying to get into the whole coverage thing. But that was just a memory I'll never forget, just like getting a picture with the trophy.
Was that 2017?
2017. So that was just something I'll never forget. And really I mean, not every team takes the competition as seriously. Sporting Kansas City is one that has over their history, and so it's just really exciting to see what this could be for this team this year. I mentioned this as well in the first segment that Daniel Shalhoub had said it could be a really good kind of galvanizing thing for the group to have this additional competition here hopefully coming out of what's been a slow start to the season, and having something that can really not be at all related to the regular season, but a chance to win a trophy.
Well, this could be the best thing that could ever happen to sporting season this year, especially because there is a chance that you could draw a team from USL or a weaker side on paper, I guess. Sporting are struggling a bit for confidence at the minute. If you need confidence and you go down and you get a good result, you get a good draw in the Open Cup and you get a good result and that push for that, that's an attainable trophy. As you said, you remember that night, you went to the game, you got pictures and stuff. That's why every sporting fan that went there, that remembers that 2017 run, will be. I mean, a lot of it seems to be here that MLS Cup is the thing to win and everything else doesn't matter. Push it all to the side. US Open Cup, you remember that night. You remember how special that was, how everyone will remember that, how kids who just got into the sport will remember when we lifted the cup at our home stadium in front of our home fans and stuff against a decent New York team as well. This could be the confidence builder that Sporting need. So it doesn't matter who you play, even an MLS team. If you say some teams don't take it as seriously as other teams, I guess they would tend to put out a weaker squad. I think it kind of depends on how you've started your season. If you are doing well at the top of the league, the likes of an Austin or the likes of, they don't really have to, they'll probably not put a strong side out. Seattle in the Champions League, all the extra games they're playing, they'll probably not put a strong side out. This is something that we could put our best 11 out, go for it, say, right, MLS is to the side for the minute tonight, this is US Open Cup, we'll go on a good run here, try and win the cup, and say you get a couple of decent draws, a couple of decent results, next thing the confidence is back. So it could be a blessing in disguise for Sporting coming through, as you said, the draws on Friday. There's some games tonight and some games tomorrow, so we'll know at least who we can possibly face by the time it comes to tomorrow night after the game. So I think it could be a real good thing for Sporting, this Open Cup being back.
It's a couple things for me. Number one is there's an element of a clean slate to it. Mm-hmm. You go into this competition, the record, the 2-6 record is
exist.
Completely irrelevant. It doesn't exist. It's just two teams playing and the winner advances. That's one thing. Another thing, when we talk about that 2017 season, one of my favorite things about the club is looking up on that wall and seeing that 2017 in orange because of the story of Neil Patterson and that quarterfinal game against FC Dallas after he passed away, in which Iko Para got kicked in the face and heard the goal getting scored while he was being loaded and into an ambulance. Setsanova gets the red card. The whole team fights down, a man for 80 minutes. Eric Palmer-Brown has 14 blocks or whatever it was that he has in the game. That was a quarterfinal. That felt like a cup final that night.
Nate, I'm pretty sure that game was, I'm not kidding, the second Sporting game I ever went to or covered. And I was like, that is one of the most memorable games that Sporting Kansas City's ever played in.
They were not going to be defeated that night. They were not. No. Doesn't matter what. See what you said.
Yeah. When we talk about mentality, I mean, that right
team,
there
they were not losing that game. That's just the way it was. Losing was not an option during those 90 minutes of that game. It was just like, we're winning this game and we're advancing on. The group was galvanized. Sadly, it took the death of Neil Patterson to kind of do it, but next thing, everyone was together. There were one group, one unit. We're not losing this game. So you need to find some of that mentality coming back into this Open Cup again.
But the point being is that it doesn't even take the Cup final to create memories for life. Like some of the most legendary moments to me that have happened in the Open Cup, that game was a quarterfinal. The penalty shootout against San Jose in the next round, that was kind of, to me, that was as we were building the legend of Tim Melia as a penalty stopper. All those things happen. And then you get to the Cup final, and obviously winning a trophy is what you remember the most. That's the thing that stands forever. The number goes up on the wall. You get the trophy. You get to keep it and all that. So, it's going to be exciting. And, it's the oldest soccer tournament in the United States of America, and it's got Lamar Hunt's name on it.
Has a bit of prestige to it,
to me, it's a lot of fun, and it's great to have it back after missing it for the past 2 years. So we'll find out on Friday where Sporting Kansas City will be playing and who they will be playing in their first round of the competition coming up on Friday. Now on Saturday, Sporting Kansas City against Columbus. I'm going to be honest with you. I can't remember. Is it Columbus Crew SC? Is it the Columbus Crew? They've rebranded 2 or 3 times, but it's still the Columbus Crew, basically, is what they are. I think they're Columbus Crew SC technically now at this point. Bottom line is they're a team that won MLS Cup a couple years ago, and they've kind of fallen on hard times a little bit, at least to start this season as well. What are we looking forward to in this game, Allie?
Yeah, I think two sides that are really trying to get back on track. Columbus Crew have 3 straight losses, 3 straight games with no goals scored after coming out to a hot start this season. So they're looking to get back into form, hoping that Sporting Kansas City can be that confidence boost game for them. And Sporting Kansas City, on the flip side, looking to get back to their winning ways at home and looking to have the Columbus Crew be that confidence-building team. And, I thought it was interesting. Their head coach, Caleb Porter, was saying that he kind of feels like a lot of those chances that could bounce your way just haven't. Those half chances for other teams are ending up in the back of the net, and their full chances are just not making it in the back of the net. Who does that sound like? Sporting Kansas City right now. So 2 teams that have maybe been a little bit unlucky, even despite some good buildup or some positive things in the game. So I think that's a big thing to look for is how these 2 teams respond after coming off a stretch of games where they've really struggled. But as far as key players go, Lucas Celerán is going to be one to watch for the Columbus Crew. Really dangerous on set pieces. He's kind of their go-to guy, and I think for Sporting Kansas City, they just have to be aware of him and try to kind of stop this leakage of goals that's happening right now. I think a really good defensive performance at home, getting another clean sheet there, getting back to that, and being really solid on set pieces after what happened against Nashville. When we talk about that mentality and building that confidence, I think that's going to be really big for the group.
Yeah, well, concentration has to be there for the whole 90 minutes. I mean, this is not a team that can give silly fouls away around the area. It's not, as you've seen, Celerán scores free kicks for fun. 7, scored 7 since he came into the league, and you can't afford to give away those niggly fouls that we've been kind of giving away in and around the area. So 90 minutes, they're going to need concentration. Both teams coming off a 3-game skid. I don't know the last time either team lost 4 games in a row, but I don't think Caleb Porter or Peter Vermees are going to be the manager that's going to want to take that on. And it's a massive game for both teams. It's strange to say so early in the season, possibly a bigger game for us because we're at home. We're going to have the foothold in the game. We're expected to get 3 points, let's be honest. And for now, it almost seems like 3 points is a must. You're at home. You need to win your games at home. On the road, it can be touch and go. You can get lucky, you can get some draws, some wins. You need to win your home games. We've done good at home this year, apart from the Nashville game, obviously. We've won 2 games, 1-0. I think we've been defensively sound, performed well. Just kind of needs to keep it that way, get back to that mindset, and hopefully just take the W from Columbus because they're going to be out fighting for it as well. Celerán, as you said, he's the key man. You need to shut him down. I'm interested to see what our approach will be to him. Who exactly is going to be left with him? Is he going to be able to operate in a pocket of space in front of the back 4? Guess it depends on who the number 6 and stuff is, but we'll see all that when it comes to game day. I'm excited, because this is what it's all about. Both teams have a lot to play for here coming into it. Just to even get the fans back on side for both sides. It's going to be a big game and a big 3 points. Let's just hope we get it.
Well, both sides are struggling to get goals from their number 9 so far this year as well. And I played some comments for Allie and you yesterday from Caleb Porter in which
too good looking.
Yeah, he suggested that maybe the goal scorers, the number 9s he has in Columbus are too handsome, and they need some neck tats or maybe some missing teeth to score some more goals. And so I'm curious your thoughts on. The importance of neck tattoos when it comes to scoring goals. Have you ever really considered that ratio, Connell, as a soccer fan yourself?
I haven't.
Can you search that in Second Spectrum? They got some sort of select a neck tat box for pulling clips.
Like how it relates to expected goals, expected neck tats, or something like that. I don't know.
Well, Carlos Vela, has he got any
neck tats correlation to expected goals? They say the same for broadcasters too. I think we just as a crew just should come out with some nice new ink.
Yeah.
A little bit of grit. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't remember Carlos Vela having any tattoos.
I don't think so. I mean, he does all right scoring.
Johnny Russell has multiple tattoos. I don't know if he has any neck tats.
I'm sure they go up pretty high, don't they?
They go kind of high, but he's got the one behind his ear.
Yeah,
I know it's
there
kind of approaching that
That's
Any,
neck
an
territory.
any tattoo above the shoulder makes you a goal scorer.
All right.
In general, I think he was obviously, we joke about it. I think the point, my assumption is the point that Caleb Porter's trying to get at there is he wants some nastiness in there. He wants a little bit of, and I mean maybe Peter Vermees would phrase it as that mentality that he wants to see on the defensive side. I'm going to do everything I possibly can to keep this ball from going in. The guy that I think of immediately is Joseph Martinez. When you think about neck tattoos
Right.
and nastiness in front of goal,
Right.
he's one of the best to ever do it in Major League Soccer. But do both of these teams need that a little bit? I wonder, is that a fair thing to say they need just a little more nastiness in front of goal when it comes to scoring right now?
I mean, it's easy to make the argument when you're not scoring, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone, I mean, Remy Voltaire's been all right in front of the goal. I don't see any neck tattoos on him. I mean, he's a nasty enough player, but the likes of, I guess when you're thinking like nasty centre forwards, like, and nasty is maybe, I don't know, is that the right term? I
don't
guess
know.
that's kind of like a.
It's like gritty goals, like someone who's just like
like
no
an-
matter what you're going.
I mean,
to,
I think of Olivier Giroud as one of the most beautiful men I've ever seen in my life, and he's, look at him.
But he's a big lad as well. He
Yeah,
can
he's
put
big and
himself
strong.
about,
Yeah,
he can,
yeah.
But,
Did you lose your train of thought because
yeah,
you're lost?
I'm
in the,
thinking of Giroud.
I mean,
Oh.
it's enough to make you lose your concentration, isn't it?
Yeah, you do.
Well, we'll see where Sporting Kansas City go with this. It's a big game against Columbus on Saturday, and then they
are
have
back
home again, yep.
against FC Dallas.
and FC Dallas are looking good right now.
Yep.
I don't know if Jesus Ferreira has any neck tats now that I think of
I
it,
know,
but
we're
he
gonna,
is
like,
really
do a
scoring
deep
goals
dive
right
here.
now for FC Dallas. It's got to start with this game against Columbus, but this is a chance to take care of a couple of home games, and if you can do that, maybe some of that confidence we talked about starts to come back.
Well, and what I'm really interested to see, and Daniel Shalhoub kind of alluded to this today when we were doing the media availability, was that he liked how they lined up against LAFC with the double pivot, and I'm curious to see if that's something that they stick with a little bit. And I am curious, Marinos Janis came in as maybe a bit more natural left winger, but he's played a decent amount of minutes playing as a type of attacking mid role for Sporting Kansas City, and he was explained to me by some of the technical staff as having some of those same kind of free-spirited qualities as Gadi Kinda, and so I'm just curious to see how he keeps building into this team and how that relationship with players like Daniel Shalhoub and Johnny Russell develops, because that'll be really key, for him and then for the success of the team going forward. So I think that's just a really intriguing storyline that I'm curious to see how it unfolds, and curious to see if they line up the same way as they did against LAFC with that different look in the midfield.
All right, go ahead.
No, I just think it's all to do with personnel. Just whoever we have available, I think they're going to try and play our game. Let's remember they're coming into our house, so we play our game, and then they do whatever. They'll try and break us down. They'll try and sit in, not let us. I do think this Colorado team can be got at. The defense can be got at. It's the same usual character. Sorry, Columbus. Apologies. Like, it's the same characters that we've seen. It's the Pedro Santos, the Jonathan Mensah. It's the same players we're going to be playing against. We know what they're about and what they can do. But this year they've been susceptible to leaking goals. So hopefully, if we can get things clicking up front, then like the way I clicked there as well when I said that.
Yeah.
Clicking up front, and hopefully we can get a couple of goals out of it. I mean, if we get 1 or 2 goals, just what it'll do for the confidence. It'll just lift the whole team.
I think you're going to be looking at 2 desperate teams on Saturday to get a result, and that usually makes for a pretty good game. So it should be a lot of fun at Children's Mercy Park on Saturday, 7:30, 7 o'clock pregame on Sports Radio 810 WHB, on 38 The Spot, on the Sporting KC app, and on sportingkc.com. You got it all covered there. You'll be able to watch it any one of those ways or listen to it as well. For Connell McCourt and for Ali Trost and for Nikola Voinovich for joining us on the show today as well. Napier Katie saying thanks for listening or watching, and we'll see you next time on the Sporting Kansas City Show presented by Michelob Ultra.